And away we go. It is the BCJ Pod, brought to you by the Holy Grail, right here on BearcatJournal.com. It is baseball season. That means many of you are going to be heading down to the banks to check out the Reds, get you some nice baseball activity as we get into the warm weather months. And that means stopping by and visiting our friends at the Holy Grail. They will get you taken care of, get some great food, some great drinks, including Cincy Light on tap. 50 cents from every Cincy Light purchase will be donated straight back into Cincy Reigns, the Bearcats NIL collective. So head down to the banks, stop by the Grail, support those that support us. All right, Dave. Let's get this show on the road, brother. How are you?
Doing all right. How was football today?
It was solid. It was in the Bengals bubble. It was back into, it was like walking into kind of a time warp, except the bubble was clean and bigger, more space, more room, but it was good. It was a pretty good practice. We'll get to some high points and some talking points on spring football a little later in the show, especially since last Friday, I did not have a chance to attend, but Dave had the chance to attend spring football practice, and I'm sure you have plenty of thoughts on your first look at the 2024 Cincinnati Bearcats. So we will get to that shortly, but first, let's go ahead and get this show rocking and rolling. And we'll go ahead and we're going to talk some basketball, and we will talk some basketball brought to you by our good friends at TeamTicker. Right there, the C Paul. It's a one-of-a-kind sports sign for Bearcat fans. It's a high-tech retro display. It'll give you daily updates on the latest news, stats, schedules, much more. No subscription required. If you're looking for the perfect addition to your man cave or a gift for that special Bearcats fan, go to TeamTicker.com and pick up your Team Ticker today. You can get transfer portal news.
Can you really? I was just about to say, it'd be pretty hilarious if a notification went off every time someone went in the portal.
As soon as it's official that somebody's in the portal, you get would you play the fight song for somebody leaving? Wouldn't you have to play?
I mean, like anybody, like nationwide, it's just like,
oh God, no. No. I work in this office, Dave. You should see my dogs every time that every time a baseball game is getting ready to start. They still haven't gotten used to it. They jump up and they stare at it like, Dad, what the hell is that thing?
Yeah.
Why does it keep playing music like 4 times a week?
Yeah.
There it is. Aaron's got the Bearcat, but I think he's
doing show prep.
I already popped in. I popped in.
Oh.
You were doing the read.
I was doing the read. Okay.
He's doing
good.
show prep for later.
Yeah, we do have a nightcap coming up after this show. We might touch on the nightcap topic a bit here, but we'll get into it kind of full scale a little bit later. 2 bits of news today on the basketball front, Dave.
Yes.
One good and one it is what it is. Simas Lukosius announces his return for what'll be his senior season. I know people are confused upon that, but he did not play basketball during the COVID year in college. So he is a traditional 5 years to play 4. And next year will be
very close to that not being a thing anymore.
I'm so fascinated about how much that's going to swing the pendulum back in the other direction in terms of teams being a little younger. But as it is right now with COVID, guys, you're dumb not to play the oldest, most experienced, like most veteran guys that you can. And, but that is not the case with him. He will be next year will be his 4th year of playing basketball, and he only has 4 years to play basketball, unless he takes a red shirt or something like that, which is happening here. But CMOS back. Obviously a very good thing for this team with the way that he improved throughout the season and kind of became the go-to guy down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, he's certainly he's probably one that, just based purely on the way he was playing, would have liked to have had as many more opportunities to keep playing as possible. I mean, he got out of his shooting slump that he was in February and really kind of turned it on in March, the end of the regular season, in the Big 12 tournament, and then in the NIT. But I mean, we've talked about it. If they can, keep the core nucleus together, and then, add complementary pieces, or even, high level pieces, then I think this team has a lot of promise going into next year. I think we've talked about it, especially with football. I think more than basketball, like returning starters doesn't necessarily mean a good thing. It most times does, but I mean, looking at this team,
sure,
if you can return Day and Jizzle, Dan, CMOS, and Aziz, that's a very, very good group to build off of, to hopefully keep improving. I think Jizzle and Dan can still take significant strides in several aspects of their game. And I think those are the two guys that, if you were to ask, like, which two guys would you want that to happen to, I think it's those two, because they check the most boxes from that traits standpoint that I talked about last year. And, if their overall games can continue to improve and match the traits, then you don't just have really good athletes that are also pretty good at basketball. Now you have excellent athletes who are also high level basketball players.
Those things help. Those things are usually good things to have in your program. Good basketball players.
Yes. we saw back 20 years ago, 30 years ago, what the good athletes got you, which was a lot of wins. But when you run up against good athletes who are also good basketball players, it got you a lot of early tournament exits. So you do
frustrating
need
exits. Yes, both are mandatory. I think the interesting thing with CMOS, in the fold, do they build going into next year as if he is your starting 4? And look, if you're going out to get a combo guard, like a starting guard, a 2-guard, combo guard, 2-guard, you're going to have one of the point guards, you're going to have the 2-guard, you're going to have Dan and CMOS. Those 4 guys are going to start.
Yeah.
Like, there's really no other way to put it. If that 2-guard comes to fruition, that you go out and you get a Big 12 starting level 2, combo 2, whatever, those are going to be your 4 starters. And I think if you do that, you have embraced, we are going to play small, and most of CMOS, 29, 30 minutes are going to come at the 4. And you have to adjust accordingly, I think.
Yeah, I think, and we'll get into it, but it is an interesting segue, because I was thinking about that today. When you talk about, Vic and now Jamil leaving, it does present Wes with an interesting, I'm not going to say dilemma, but just how do you want to do this? Because if you go that route, then CMOS needs to become a much better rebounder.
I would agree. I think he got better
and
towards the end of the season.
I don't necessarily disagree with going that route. And I know that we will look at things individually and also in a vacuum and look at Vic and go, he had a very, very good first half of the year and pretty much like a polar opposite second half of the season. And then for me personally, Jamil, I probably liked him more than some or most, but I was still probably a little bit disappointed in what he was able to produce. But saying all that, you virtually have nothing in the post offensively. Like literally nothing with those two guys both gone. So are you going to get a true 5 that can score and then basically play the same style you played this year? Or are you going to get
you skipped a couple chapters with
right?
Jamil Reynolds also. Reynolds, Cincinnati's had 2 players enter the transfer portal. Jamil Reynolds today, Victor Locken yesterday. That leaves Cincinnati, and Odio Guama has graduated. So you essentially right now have one center on the roster in Aziz, who you obviously are counting on to be your starter, your leading minutes guy at 5. That's why I think it's important to make the designation on CMOS early.
Right. Because I mean, like,
okay,
do you go more of like the Houston way with like a 6'9" more offensively focused 5?
So
or is Aziz pretty much penciled in there? Because like for everything he does defensively, yeah, I mean he just needs to take, and maybe he can't, I don't know. And I'm certainly willing and think discussion on the offensive development of the bigs is a worthwhile conversation, maybe not tonight or at some, but like you can't just go into next year. I'm not saying it's got to be a focal point of your offense. You can. I don't know, man.
If you've got 4 scorers, you can play with a defense first center.
Yes, you can, but who's the 4th scorer?
Jizzle, the transfer portal.
Okay, we're assuming. I'm saying like I gotta see
the job of the staff, Dave.
Right. But that thing might not be out there for them to get.
Look, man, bigs are tough to get. There are guards and wings fucking everywhere. Like, I've never realized how many guys average 16 points a game across college basketball.
Right.
There's hundreds of them.
We've talked about it, though. Like, does it diminish your opportunities based on who you have coming back?
No, because they have an open starting spot at the 2.
Right. But I guess, like, I don't know. I don't know if this is the platform for it. I don't know of anyone that fits that mold that they're. I mean, is there someone that fits that mold that they're priority A right now? You don't have to name names or anything, but.
I mean, there's a couple. Some are in the portal. Some might not be there yet.
Yeah, I mean, there's
one entered today and yesterday, and Jordan Pope. I think Cincinnati will be involved with him. I wouldn't be surprised if they once again kick the tires on Kirk Risa. I mean, there's guys that are out there. Plenty of guys. Like I don't. If you want to talk about concern about finding big men, I will always be in that boat of those are tough to find. There are guards that can score. Like there's not going to be enough landing spots.
Yeah,
for the number of scoring guards that are going to be in the portal.
Right. I don't know. I mean, I part of me not fears, but like, do we overcorrect from what we've talked about in the past regarding the big men, and then leave ourselves susceptible to the things that we were very good at this year? And now all of a sudden, those are the things that we are not as good at next year, and we're, you're 6 and 1/2 dozen, and the other kind of in the same spot that you were.
That's how this works, Dave.
Right. I know. We're just talking.
I know. I'm just saying, like that. You're not. If there's a perfect player that checks every box, he's not playing at Cincinnati.
That part of the reason that I'm not like super excited that Jamil is leaving is like, okay, yes, maybe we were all a little bit disappointed, but there aren't a ton of like 6'11", 250-pound dudes that do have some offensive skill on them just hanging out.
There's a shit ton of them that can get you 5 points and 2 rebounds.
Well, yes, maybe, but I mean, again,
that's on him.
Oh,
he
for
got
sure.
15, 20 minutes a game, and that's what he did with it. That's like, I'm out on, you know me, and like potential and this guy, if they could just get him to turn his motor on, if they that shit, it doesn't, like, how rare is it that it happens, that it actually happens?
Like you typically don't see all of a sudden like just a totally different mindset out of players that have been in school for multiple years, been on multiple teams. I mean, it's clear that, or at least I shouldn't say it's clear, because I didn't know anything about him when he was at UCF. And then I knew about him a little bit from his Temple days, but like, it seems from the outside that there is just not a lack of understanding, but just like he sees things one way, and every place he's been, God sees them another way.
Right. That's how you end up. Well, that's how you end up at 4 schools in 4 years. Like that's the reality of where he is.
Right.
So, but those guys, Dave, what you're talking about, that's how coaches get fired.
Oh,
because they hitch their wagon to a guy that the light probably is never going to turn on. Maybe it does, and you ride away from it, but
yeah, I mean,
far more often the wiring is faulty. You don't have to change the bulb; you got to get in the wall and change the wiring.
We've seen plenty of instances of the whole like change of scenery thing, but you don't typically see it like. And again, this is brand new to college athletics. I mean, I think it's more so in like professional sports, maybe when a new staff comes in or something, right. But like you don't typically see like the change in scenery thing all of a sudden work out on the fourth go round.
Right. I think this is an important thing to talk about for a second, Josh. Apparently worked very hard when he got here, got in great shape. A little surprised that didn't carry into the season. Lifting weights is a lot different than playing basketball in terms of like motor and like the things that we're talking about. You can go into the weight room and throw around a bunch of weight. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're a high motor basketball player.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious that like he just looked at things from the offensive standpoint and just saw what Aziz brought offensively and thought he should get more minutes than he
probably, yeah. But
that's
that was the problem with Jamil, is he was so bad defensively that you could barely put him on the floor to play offense.
But that's what I mean. Like he's only looking at it from the offensive side.
Yeah. He did not look at defense as much of a requirement in his job responsibilities.
No.
Any inkling on what CJ will do? No, not at the moment. That's a tough decision for CJ. I think we talked about this a little bit the other night, but I mean, I'm sure he's doing pretty well as a basketball player, and retiring from basketball and getting on with life, probably going to lose a lot of the perks of being a college basketball player in the NIL era.
Yeah, it's a little different setup now. It's
right.
I'm not so willing to. I mean, ask anybody. Would you just be willing to voluntarily like just give up some income because some other people think you're not as good as you once were or whatever? Like, he's not gonna just. I don't think anybody really is gonna just voluntarily go that route. Now, if they're told to go that route, then they don't really have a choice. But I'm not sure anybody's voluntarily doing it.
Right. So that's going to be an interesting one.
Now,
Something else that I think is. Go ahead.
I have a
Go ahead.
personal take on it, but I'll just let the situation play out.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think there's definitely a valuable place for CJ. I don't think you can risk it being a critical piece of the roster like we saw the weight that was put on his addition a year ago. You know, if he's your 12th guy, if he's healthy, he's going to play. But if in terms of like your roster construction, he's on the back end of your roster and not the front end of your roster, you can take a gamble on his health. If you are counting on him to be one of your, because of his spacing and because of the role they wanted him to play, he was going to be one of your top 3 or 4 most important players regardless. And then he plays, 43 minutes in the Big 12. You are asking for disaster, right?
I mean, if I'm just, I'll do the if I was West thing. Like, I need to have as many in a sport that there's no such thing as a sure thing.
Right.
I need to have as many sure things as possible next year.
But that's the coach's rub with CJ, right? Because if he's on the floor, he is a sure thing, one of the best shooters in America.
Right, but
if he's on the floor.
It's almost a sure thing that he won't be on the floor for every one of your games.
Right. Right. And that makes it difficult. It makes it a heck of a
I mean, he redshirted 3 years ago. He missed games last year at Kentucky, and then he missed almost the whole season this year.
Yeah. Last year at Kentucky. Last year at Kentucky was a fluke. Like I don't hold that one against him. He broke his wrist or whatever on a camera under the basket.
I'm not saying that any of this stuff is his fault, but like I said, I need all the sure things I can get in a sport that doesn't have sure things. Like he could play next year and play 25 minutes.
He could be John Newman. At this point in time last year, everybody wanted to run John Newman out of town. Can't stay healthy.
I said the same thing last year about Newman. I wasn't to the point that I am necessarily with CJ, but like I just thought it was pretty damn risky, and the risk paid off.
Sure,
but this year to me is a lot different. This coming year, circumstantially, is a lot different than this past year.
Right.
And I don't know. That's a hard call, man.
It is. Luckily, we are now in a situation, Dave, though, where scholarship limit doesn't matter.
Right.
Because they can just say, we'll add in, we'll add in the $30,000 that you need for tuition and room and board and whatever on top of what we were going to give you. That way you don't have to worry about it. We'll take care of it. Basically, the NIL is taking care of the scholarship. It is not the complete block that it was up until people started normalizing this practice last year. And guess what? If people started normalizing it last year, it's only going to get more prominent and prevalent this year.
Yeah.
Now that people have made it, a thing that is going to be
right.
regularly a part of the discussion, I guess.
I think there could certainly be a role for him, but if the things that we just mapped out actually happen, then what is that role?
Yeah. And is it what he wants his role to be? Because this is a kid that's played at a high level. Like, if he's healthy, he's going to expect to be on the floor, Dave.
Right. Like, they have 2 spots right now. If they go get that true shooting guard, combo guard, whatever you want to categorize them, that is a shooter scorer, and then whatever they want to do in the post, whether that's a true 5, whether that's a 6'9", 4, like if they do what they want to do, if you talk to Wes and Wes was like, man, I don't know how we did it, but we knocked it. We got what we wanted, and we'll see how it turns out, but we got what we wanted. Then what is his role exactly?
Yeah.
And does
Because
and
it's
is,
then
and
it's
is
what
he,
backup
and
two guard, backup
is he
two guard,
cool? Is he cool with that?
right? You're gonna play some 2. You're gonna play some 3 behind Dan. Like, yeah. Like,
And you
is
still
he
have that.
accepting
You
of that?
still have the times that you're going to play Jizzle and Day Day at the same time. So, like, where, so how does that all work out? I mean, I'm not saying like kick him to the curb because he
Right.
does
It's
have
just-
he does have legitimate value, but like, if you get what you want to get done, what does his role look like?
Agreed. And then there's another conversation at the 5 that you have to have, Dave.
Right.
That conversation is, are we going to go out and get a 5th-year backup that
Like
we say,
almost
look,
like an
we've got,
Odie.
right, we've got 15, you would hope better
But I mean,
prepared
like,
for the
but
Big 12.
similar.
But right, we're going to need 15 minutes out of you. You're going to come in, you're going to defend, you're going to rebound. Hopefully you've got some offensive game to add. Or because this will be Aziz's last season, do you say we need a guy that maybe is a little bit more developmental, that we're still going to probably count on for 12 to 15 minutes a game, but a guy that we will be grooming to be the center after Aziz moves on?
I'm going
Like,
that route because if the development goes a little bit slower, I can always go small.
who would be your 5
Well, Aziz.
for 40 minutes?
And no, and this guy, but like if the development isn't like I'm looking for like a younger person to develop that can push Aziz a little bit, and because like I'm not like just getting a guy because we need a 5 who can come in and do spot minutes. I'm not sure does that make the overall roster that much better, or is it just kind of like, I mean, obviously Aziz isn't playing all 40 minutes, but like, is it really making the overall roster better, or are we just like safeguarding for when Aziz gets in foul trouble or needs a break? Like, I wanted someone, and maybe this person doesn't exist or doesn't want it. I mean, I don't know. I'm just looking at it in a very myopic view of like, let's get someone younger that seems to have some skill that we can develop, but that can also potentially like push him a little bit. Like, hey man, like you're great on defense, but like Bill over here is kind of kicking your ass offensively, and the trade-off is getting much closer. Yeah, Kiwi says great Osborne. Yeah, that dude would be great, literally. He's also one of the probably top 5 dudes in the transfer portal right now.
What about Sage? I don't know that at this point, if it's
This
NCAA tournament or bust,
this ain't his level, man.
That you can, whether it's his level or not, whether he's like, whether in 2 years he's ready or whatever. Like, I don't think you can go into this season having not gotten anything from Sage and saying this very, very important role that is going to play significant minutes.
Right, you're going to go from not in a do or die NCAA tournament year. You're going to go from not playing to like being the 7th guy and playing 15 to 20 minutes a game.
Right. I don't think you can do that.
Seems unlikely to me.
Yeah. I don't know who that is. Steven.
What is? Zangief from Street Fighter?
Yeah, I didn't play Street Fighter much.
Oh, man. I did.
Could you grow a mohawk?
No, I cannot grow a mohawk. You've known me how long? You think I can grow anything up here?
I don't know. Like, maybe just in the middle.
No. Everywhere else.
The middle is the problem. That's why you kiss it all goodbye.
All right, here's the issue.
Not so much here.
Right, or here, but right here.
But right here.
For all you Tommy Boy fans out there.
Speaking of the 5, do we see Tyler McKinley at the 5 at all? I don't know. Maybe. I again, Until you really see these guys against college players.
In the situation that we're going, like everybody has to look at this as like, if you just ask yourself, if I was the coach and I needed to make the tournament to probably keep my job, would I rely on a freshman playing the 15 to 20 minutes a game?
Here's the other thing.
I probably wouldn't.
Here's the other thing you kind of have to consider, Dave. Aziz's health wasn't perfect.
No.
So there are going to be, hopefully, as it was this year, small spots, but spots where he might not be available. And that means whoever your 2 is going to have some times where he's going to have to be your 1. And I don't think that I don't think that's where you want to put Tyler this early in his career.
I wouldn't want to. I mean, I don't.
To keep my job feels very harsh. Andrew, you can't take everything we say 100% literal. Like,
it's not literal.
You knew in the context of what he said.
But like, if they don't make the tournament, come back, get at me in 9 months, in whatever.
Okay, still not losing his job.
No, I mean, that's not. But I mean, like, the noise will be very loud. He might not lose his job, but it's a very much so like a let's make the tournament year.
Yeah. What are the expectations for Raymond next season?
I don't know how.
Get back to me when we know what the roster looks like. Like, if they don't bring in another wing, guess what? He's probably going to be right behind Dan at the 3. If they do bring in another wing, then he gets knocked down a peg on the roster, and you wonder exactly how much you're going to see him early next year, unless he can earn his way onto the floor. So we'll see. Do we think the freshmen both play next season? Look, Kiwi, in this league, if they play, you better hope it's not because they are forced into major roles, because there's not a whole lot of freshmen that do a whole lot in the Big 12.
I mean, I'm trying to think outside of Jizzle. What, like Johnny Furphy, Jizzle, Milosevich or whatever his name is.
Mom Chilovich. Mom Chili
Bitch.
And then Jacoby Walter.
Yeah, he's like a top 10 pick.
Right. And then like the 5th guy that got the all freshman team was Tugler, who averaged like 3 points and 5 rebounds a game.
It's like their 8th man before he got hurt.
Right. So Brandon Garrison was really good for Oklahoma State. But even his numbers weren't consistent. Like, he had long stretches where he did not produce commiserate with his talent level. So,
Can we get him?
Yes.
Yeah, can we get that's the type of guy I would take.
You and me both. Let a 5-star big that's got a chance to be like a long term.
Yeah. Can we get him? Let Wes know about that guy.
I will. I will make sure that
just call him and be like, hey, Dave and I were talking on the podcast tonight. Have you heard of this Brandon Garrison guy? Just see what he says.
Have you reached out to is Brandon Garrison a name? Didn't he have a no contact? I think he went in no contact.
I don't know.
More long term for Tyler. I mean, yeah, he's 6'9". He's a big kid. Like, he could play the 5 if you needed him to.
I don't say this in any sort of way, but like, and Keegan asked me this Friday at practice, and it's not apples to apples, but he asked me, like, when's the next time that UC won't have a transfer starting quarterback? And I kind of look at it the same way in like that question about like long term. I don't think there is any long term development in college basketball anymore.
Right.
Like, if you're not in the top 7 and a key cog in our attack by your sophomore or maybe junior year, like, I need to look for something that will fit into that role. Now, I know you have 13 guys on the team, and obviously not everybody can fit it, but those are Those are more freshmen that you're hoping take a huge jump. How many teams are like, yeah, we're really hoping this junior picks it up next year because we're really going to need him. Like it feels like that's not really a thing anymore.
Not at the Power 5 level.
So it's like, is there really that like Gary Clark, Justin Jackson level of development and progression anymore?
Well, Gary's a terrible example. He started as a freshman.
Well, that's true.
Trey might be a better example.
Trey, and I think Trey would be a better example. Yeah.
Mainly because he spent 3 years forced to play behind Gary Clark.
Yeah.
Like that Trey would have transferred out after year 1 because there would have been 2 more years of playing behind Gary ahead of him.
Yeah.
So that's definitely like the example that you're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, but is that really like a thing anymore? I'm sure it is, but like
very like a guy red shirts and then
or even just doesn't like plays a little bit
but
of
listen.
Yeah.
A guy red shirts and then after he red shirts spends 2 years as a 10-minute a game guy.
Yeah.
Because the guy ahead of him, like they only played one position, each of them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like going into year 4, Trey Scott had never like really been a heavy minute 20-25 minute a night type guy. He never would have made it to year 4 now.
No. So
he would have gone somewhere else. He would have blossomed somewhere else because he worked hard. He was about the right thing.
Yeah, he would have gotten 30 minutes a game wherever he went.
Right.
He wouldn't have been blocked by anybody because they wouldn't. The reason that team would be wanting him is because they're like, we know you're good, but you're blocked and you won't be blocked here.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, whether it's you and I discussing or me, I don't know if I'm for just as many dudes that can put the ball in the basket, however they figure out a way to do it next year. I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of defense for just an overall higher level of scoring ability, and getting away from those massive variances of one game 19% from 3, the next game 37, the next game 24. Right.
That's what we talked about Monday. Like you can't. Like there are going to be bad shooting nights.
I don't need you to be great. Just don't get like. Can you just be like 33%?
Well, that's what I said Monday night, Dave. It's not that. Yes, some nights you're going to shoot it like shit. And some nights you're going to be on fire. This team just spent too much time at the extremes, and there was never a night where they were like 35, a solid 35% on 17 attempts, whatever that is.
I wanted to look it up. I didn't have the chance to, but I wanted to see like what their record was when they. It might not have been very many games because it felt like it was that like extreme one way or the other. But just like what was their record when they just shot a very average 3-point percentage, like 29 to 34%. Like what was their record?
Over 30, anything over 32 and up. Like that's an average 3-point percentage.
And I'll even take out like the nights when they like approached 40 or were over 40 because those were the outliers in the other direction.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
What was the record when you were just fine? So that's why I'm like, just give me all the shooters, man. We'll figure it. Like I think Wes is a good defensive coach. I don't think this team is going to all of a sudden not give a shit about rebounding because they added a couple guys that can score. Like, just give me all the guys that can put the ball in the damn basket, and we'll figure it out.
Andrew, I want to clarify something on this. I have a lot of people say this, have asked me this. Was Millie one of the 3 I expected? So I didn't expect anything particularly. When I say that, that is more of this is what makes sense in terms of what turnover is going to look like. You never know. Like there's nothing you can predict until the meetings happen and until, paths are laid out and roles are explained and money is discussed, more important probably than anything now. I just thought 3 was the number that made the most sense in terms of where it would land on roster spots. Again, I thought there would be 2 or 3 last year. And that was, I'm even more staunch in the way my thought process is now because of last year, where I said I thought there would only be 2 or 3 at the end of the season. And there ended up being 5 because a guy that told you he was coming back decided to declare for the draft. And then another guy that told you he was coming back then got lied to and jumped in the portal and created a situation where 2 guys left that, by all intents and purposes, had identified to the coaching staff that they were going to return. So there's never, like, when I do this now, it's just, this is what makes sense in terms of
Right. It's I see ways that this number could happen. Not like I know player X, Y, and Z. It's that I think this is maybe what is a 51% chance of happening based on the season that we just had and and the expectations for the season moving forward. Like, let's be real. I mean, yeah.
And some of that number, Dave, I'm not going to lie, some of that number being as low as it is because I truly believe this is a group that enjoys playing together. They enjoy being teammates. Like, they enjoy the process. This isn't a group that's looking to run away from each other. And it's not a coaching staff that's looking to break up the core either. So then you get into a situation where, guess what? Dudes want to stay. Like, they want to be here and play on this team and play in this program and in this league. And, you know, we had these conversations as Luke started to get things rolling.
Well,
where,
yeah,
you know, you might think these are how many numbers we're going to have, but until you start having these conversations and you sit down with somebody you think is unhappy and they go, I'm good. Like, I love it here.
I think
I'm having a great time.
They saw that they could compete in the Big 12. They, you know, have a core group and probably look at it and say, you know, a lot of those, I mean, they saw what happened. They probably look at it and go, man, we've really pissed away a lot of opportunities this year. And kind of look at each other and go, we can, you know, if we all stick together, then we can, you know, have the potential to have a very quality season next year.
And we don't have to uproot ourselves and deal with a new team and new coaches and new everything. We can stay here and get all the things that we enjoy about basketball here because we're headed in a good direction. And Andrew, no need for an apology. That wasn't like, that's just in general. I've seen a lot of people ask me that as if I was just checking off, which has happened in the past. But now, man, nobody knows. Coaches don't know. They say they know. They say that's their job to know, but they don't really know much of anything in terms of where this is going to go before they sit down and have these meetings.
Yeah, you can. You never know what school has a couple wild boosters who are just like, here's X amount. I don't really care. Just go get some dudes, and because I'm tired of losing.
But I'm just talking about when you sit down across from a player.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you might have had that conversation, and then 3 days later, that booster goes to that coach and is like, "Go get who you think you can get," and that becomes one of your guys or something. So,
I love this question, Jason. I don't know if Dave's going to agree with me or not. I feel like this question gets asked every year. I'm going to do it anyway. If they're playing small, do we see them press some more next year? In this league, no.
Not until they start pressing in the first place.
I know it's Wes's like preferred style coming here. I also think you can do that in a league like the league he was in a lot more effectively than coming here and pressing against, you know, the best guards in the country. I just don't think it's a winning formula. You know, even like I know people will look at Iowa State and say, look what they did. That was not pressure, like full court trap pressure. That was half court. We are just going to like overwhelm you. And, could I see them evolving into something like that? Sure. But West Virginia, he was running that press Virginia stuff the 2 years they finished last in the Big 12.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't think it's a formula that works in this league, Dave. Do you disagree?
No, and
I think it's a change up. I think it's something you can use, but in terms of like, we are going to be a pressing team and just press you relentlessly for 40 minutes, I don't think that works in the Big 12. There's too many good guards.
I think you, yeah, like you said, I mean, a change up out of necessity, sure, but like, just get really, really good at one thing.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to worry about going to a zone or pressing. Like, just get really good at just playing damn defense.
That's always my favorite, when the defense has a bad 3 trips. Go play zone. Just play zone.
If you were good at it, we would have seen it by now in game 24.
The other thing is, I don't think people understand how much work it takes to be good at your main thing, much less to put enough time in to be good at whatever you deem your secondary thing.
Right. Like, you might get them on one possession because they're not prepared to go against it, but like over time, it's no, like,
play zone. Like, yeah, they played zone 3 possessions last game, and the other team scored 8 points. Don't play zone.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nick. We played 10 possessions in zone all year and gave up like 6 threes and 4 layups. Exactly.
Or gave up offensive rebounds for putbacks.
Yeah. But those were the layups.
Yeah.
Those are the layups. 2 of the layups were, yeah. Like, this is what we've talked about a lot, Fake John Goebel. Wes seems to do a great job of being honest up front and building great relationships. In today's portal, you can't lie to kids. They're out on the first bus when they figure you out.
Maybe in basketball. In football, I think you can still lie to them.
I mean, in basketball, you clearly in some places still can too. But but that point is fair in that creating a culture that kids aren't trying to get out of.
Right.
That the guys enjoy playing for the coach. The school is recruited good guys. The camaraderie is good. The culture is good. Nobody's looking to just like,
it's like a
sprint out of town.
When I brought you in, we had a conversation about expectations, and then at the end of the year meetings, we went over that, and I pretty much, we can both agree that we all pretty much held true to what those expectations were. Like, I didn't tell you one thing, and then 6 months later, it's a polar opposite situation. So, yeah, I mean, I think it does. I mean, I don't think Wes doesn't come across to me as like, I don't know. I don't think he's a huge like coach speak guy. So for the number of times that he said like how much he really enjoyed coaching this group, not that he would say like, I'm not enjoying this.
This sucks. I'm out.
He just seems like if it wasn't going great, he just wouldn't bring it up. But He clearly went out of his way on multiple occasions to talk about, and maybe in some situations these were after losses, and he's doing some deflecting and covering, which is also something a good coach should do. But I get the sense that these guys enjoyed playing together. Aziz's sideline celebrations were always very entertaining to me. So, I think it's hard to just like fake that shit over.
Agreed.
An entire season like that. Like if you're down in the dumps or you don't think things are going the way that you want them to go, in wins, I still don't think you just all of a sudden are like, oh, I got to pretend like I'm having fun, and I've got to wave a towel over my head and jump up and down when the walk-on makes a 3-pointer. Like, I don't think you can necessarily fake that for an extended period of time. So you're either are enjoying it and are having fun, or you're not.
Right. So yeah, I think it is a good indication of the health of where things are at. But I don't think you went into this offseason thinking, both Vic and Jamil are going to leave, and we're going to have to figure out
Right.
what you do with the 5. I think they would like to have kept one of them, but guess what? In both conversations, in both situations, Aziz is still the starter.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that's not what either of them were looking to hear or hoping to hear when they go into that. So, I mean, it can't be that shocking that you're in this situation. I just think when you talk about the number and what you're going to be able to add, again, you can go above and beyond 13 now. So I don't put a whole lot of weight into that.
Mm-hmm.
But if we were looking at a 13 number, it wasn't necessarily we're also going to have to add a 5.
Right.
Because I don't think, you had 5 of them on the roster last year. Essentially. Aziz, Vic, Jamil, Sage, Odie, all their best positions were the 5. If all of a sudden you're down to 1 or 2, that changes the way you're going to have to attack the offseason.
Well, I mean, you're down to 2 now, and you
Right.
very well could be down to 1.
So, we'll see.
Yep.
Does that change how they,
Stay tuned.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to be here every Wednesday night talking about it.
Until they fill a roster. So.
Right. I don't know. I guess that's about it on basketball. You got any thoughts on the Final Four this weekend?
I will not be watching a second of it. It is WrestleMania 40.
Oh, that's right. It goes. What? So that's Saturday. That runs. It runs pretty much all night Saturday, right?
Saturday and Sunday, 3 hours each.
Well, yeah.
Night.
There's no Final Four games on Sunday.
Right. Yes, but yes, I've not been as excited for a sporting event as I am for this in quite some time.
Yeah, what they've done with The Rock and that whole storyline is
awesome.
Excellent. Yeah.
The Attitude Era is fully back. Like, he's taken on the heel role in an incredible fashion. The way, all the different things that could potentially happen over the 2 nights, all the rumors, like it very easily could be the best WrestleMania ever.
I'm excited.
But no, I will not be, because I'm certainly not going to watch Zach Eady after him and the Boilermakers dispatched of my volunteers last week.
You don't want to see DJ Burns cook him?
I mean, I like DJ Burns a lot, but I just don't really want to watch Purdue play basketball ever again. It is an insult to my sensibilities.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, I'm pulling for Danny. My deal.
I mean, who wins or loses? I mean, that's like, I don't want Alabama. Obviously, I have. I'm certainly not gonna be cheering for them. I have no problem with Danny and UConn because he's a Bengals fan as well. So, and I'm certainly not going to root for Purdue. So I would love to see a UConn NC State championship game.
That would be fun for sure.
It would be wild if NC State just didn't lose, like legit won 11 straight must-win games.
After losing 4 games to end the season, play their way out of the tournament, dead in the water.
In the quarterfinal game, Virginia misses a free throw to win the game, and then they bank in a 3 at the buzzer to force overtime, and they haven't lost since.
Right.
Like, because even when Kemba went on his run, like once they won a couple games in the Big East tournament, they were in the tournament.
Yeah.
Like
And
NC State was never making the tournament unless they won the ACC tournament, and now they
even
have
getting
won.
to the final wasn't going to be enough.
No,
They were still going to be
absolutely
out.
not. Right.
So
So I mean, Jason, they can't fire him. He earned a 2-year contract extension. So unless they want to buy out those 2 years,
yeah, no, he's legendary there now.
all these wins
Like,
gave him an automatic 2-year contract extension.
and you took the damn team to the Final Four, right? Everybody says that's what matters.
And DJ
Like-
Burton should be of all if we're really getting into it.
Probably
I don't even remember him being on the team or why he got kicked off or left or whatever. But
because he couldn't stop eating.
no. There's pictures of he wasn't even close to as big as he is now.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
The bigger he got, the better he got.
clearly.
Apparently.
Clearly,
He's been he's been one of the more fun over the years. Like a lot of times it's like guards that just make a bunch of threes or whatever.
was he this
like-
good all year?
No, not really.
I mean, because obviously he couldn't have been, or they wouldn't have been like not making the tournament.
Right.
Like in the Elite Eight
he's
game, he put up like 26 and 9 or something. Like,
Yeah. He could dunk back then
I mean,
in his Tennessee days.
well, I hope he doesn't breathe on Zach Edey too hard because he won't be playing very long if he does.
Well, that's, I think, going to be the fascinating thing is, will the officials really put the story of the tournament? Will they really put DJ Burns on the bench with 15 minutes to go in the first half with 2 fouls?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't really mad that Tennessee was getting whistled for a lot of fouls because they were fouling. Like there
Yeah.
were a couple that they called that were not fouls, but like Zach Edey 7-4 or whatever, like dudes are fouling him, and you could probably call a foul all
Right.
the time. My
Right.
issue was that 26 minutes into the game, or 27 minutes into the game, 26 fouls had been called, and none were on the biggest guy in the sport. But you were obviously you obviously had a tight whistle to call
Right.
27 fouls in 26 minutes, but none on the 7-4 guy.
Yeah.
It's like, or the whole, like, we don't need to relitigate the how many times he spent 9 seconds in the key.
Apparently, all you have to do is get your big toe out of the key, and that resets 3 seconds, Dave.
I mean, Tennessee didn't lose because of that. I mean, outside of Dalton Connect, nobody showed up. So it was very
Right,
much
I
an
know.
others game. Connect and Edey had great games, and they got 14 out of Lawyer, and we got pretty much nothing from anybody else.
Right. It'll be an interesting Final Four. I mean, it's not going to be the greatest Final Four in the history of the world, but I'll tell you what, next Wednesday night, if UConn wins it, we'll have a discussion about where to rank them on the list of the greatest teams of all time.
I think they are head and shoulders above everybody else, but Bama certainly plays the style that if they make threes, like they got no problem going to 90 and 100 with you.
Right. They're not going to stop UConn defensively. There's no chance.
No, but
But
if Mark Sears and those dudes hit 13, 14 threes, like they'll be right in it till the end.
yeah, it could be a very interesting game because that's everybody said Illinois was the team that was best suited to knock off UConn. I think it would be I'd have Alabama way ahead of Illinois.
Grant Nelson's going to pull Klingon out away from the basket.
Right. Well,
and
maybe.
But I mean, like he's at least going to force him to try to make a decision. Like,
right.
Not just going to let him go out there and shoot threes all day.
Right. No, it's going to be fun. I think Alabama's the interesting, like the most interesting matchup for them in the Final Four.
I mean, they might lose by
You're right.
30, or they could win.
If they go cold, they'll lose by 30 because they have no chance of stopping UConn's offense.
Right.
But if they shoot it, then yeah, you're talking 83-81 at the under 4 timeout, and let's see who has the stones. Which Danny was hilarious last week when they asked him about blowouts, and he was like, "Well, we can't win close games, so we better blow everybody out."
How many close games have they been in?
Like 3, I think, and they've got 3 losses.
The over-under is only 160.5. I feel like that's low.
That's still both teams in the 80s.
I mean, they're
No, both teams in the upper 70s, mid 70s.
yeah, 80 to 81 to 80 covers.
Yeah.
Over.
No, I think it's going to be more than that.
I mean, you maybe have the factor of like playing in the football stadium,
in the dome. Yeah.
But
Sure.
I mean, these teams though, they can just score. Like, it doesn't seem to affect them anywhere they've played.
Fake John Goble, it's one of the most unreal things I've ever seen in basketball, because generally when something crazy like that happens, a team just goes out of their mind from 3. UConn didn't go out of their mind. I think they had 2 in their 30-0 run, 2 or 3.
Well,
they didn't hit a bunch of threes.
In this tournament, we've had 2 games where a team has gone 50-plus real minutes without scoring.
Well, Virginia doesn't count. Come on.
It happened. They did it, and so did Illinois, which the Illinois one's even more shocking because, like, Terrence Shannon can get 25 just, like, tying his shoes.
Right. UConn's legit, man. They're as good a team as we've seen in a long time. Now we get to find out if they can finish.
Did you see him talk shit about the Steelers on McAfee today?
I did. Did you see the joy in his face when Pac-Man popped up to ask him a question? Yeah. Like, he was like, I get to talk to Pac-Man Jones? Like, that, again, that guy loves the Bengals more than I could ever explain to anyone.
Well, he said, they asked him, like, he goes, and I'm even old school, like, Ken Anderson, Pete Johnson, like, he was rattling off, like, guys from the 70s and 80s.
I guess he's told a story before. The Freezer Bowl was when he started liking the Bengals. So that's how far back Danny goes. And McAfee was like, you put yourself through a lot of pain for a long time. And Danny's like, I fucking know, brother. Like, I know. I'm aware. Mm-hmm. I lived it. Yep. Danny's not a guy that does anything half-assed. If he's a Bengals fan, he's going to be the best Bengals fan there ever lived. All right, let's hit a timestamp here. Brought to you by Turtles Brew. 0 sugar, 0 carbs, gluten-free. It's a bourbon-infused sweet tea. They have lemonade tea, strawberry mint, cherry lime, raspberry peach, orange vanilla. Over 100 locations throughout Ohio. Visit turtlesbrew.com for more information and locations. A portion goes to save the sea turtles. And also, Dave, this rumor continues to swirl around. 12-ounce pouches coming very soon, either 5-packs or individual. So keep an eye out for that.
Well, I mean, is it a rumor or is it a thing? It can only be a rumor for so long, or else it's not a thing.
I mean, I've not gotten confirmation that they're on the shelves yet, Dave. So until they're on the shelves, it's a rumor.
So I mean, are they in production? We're not on the shelf yet.
I mean, a little birdie told me that they're coming. So I'm getting everybody ready for the introduction of when they arrive. Haven't arrived yet. I'm sorry, Pickle. Pickle looking at me like she's very disappointed. We'll get you some Turtles Brew, sweetie. Soon.
Yeah, that's what she needs.
I might fix whatever, you won't have to take her to the vet all the time because
I won't have to take her to the vet at all if she drinks that stuff.
Don't give it to your cats. We're kidding.
You take her to the vet for another reason.
No, your cat's just fucked up. She's fine. She's drunk. Let's get to spring football, David. I will turn this over to you, as you were at practice Friday and got your first chance to look at the 2024 Cincinnati Bearcats. So I will let you take it away and give some of your observations.
It was a lovely day. I assume that it's because I was there that the temperature and weather was great, but no, it was really good. I enjoyed it. It was as you talked about. It was quite difficult to try to truly watch and look at a roster and take a few notes and all those things. But starting, I think at the top where everybody wants to start when we talk practice is the quarterbacks, and I think I was pretty impressed with Brendan Sorsby. I thought he had a good day, especially in some red zone work and tight red zone work. He got away with one that probably should have been a 99-yard interception return for a touchdown by Josh Minkins that just went right through his hands on an out route that he jumped. But outside of that pass, I think every pass he threw was a touchdown. But, and I put this on the board, and I'm not saying this, please do not take this literally. This is more of like a first impression. Just the way he looks, the way he throws, reminded me very much of Jay Cutler. They are virtually the same size. I mean, I looked up, UC lists Sorsby as 6'3", 235. Sports Reference lists Cutler at 6'3", 231. But it's even more than that. Like the way that their shoulders kind of sit a certain way to me. The way they throw the ball seemed similar, and maybe it's got some baseball background in it where Cutler would kind of extend more across and down than truly like a loop, so to speak, on the same plane of his right shoulder. So his running, the way he runs, I think will be interesting because it seemed like he runs in a way that on third and fourth down, I could see a lot of like not sprint stuff, but just like QB power behind an extra tackle and a tight end, because he is a big dude. Like you look at the quarterback, like just compare him to the quarterbacks going to this draft that are at the top of the draft. And I'm not going to say he's going to be that, but like Jaden Daniels is barely 200 pounds, if that, when he actually plays. Caleb Williams is a little bit over 200. Drake May's probably the biggest at like 225. And we're talking about, we'll say it's accurate. We're talking about 235 at quarterback. Like I don't think they're going to have the struggles that they had last year on the short yardage stuff. With him and Kiner as probably the, on the truly third and the foot, fourth and the foot stuff. Like, I think he's a much more capable and gives you much more. Like, he's not going to break off. I'm not sure they're going to be running like quarterback draw like we saw with Emory, and he gets 25 yards up the middle.
Right.
But all the times that we couldn't pick up stuff on short yardage, I think that has a chance to go up much more. And we'll see how the tackles do. I feel good about them in the run game. We'll get to the running backs, but I just think the quarterback play, again, I saw him one time and he missed some throws and should have had an interception for a touchdown, but we're talking about a 2-hour practice where he probably threw the ball 50, 75, 100 times. Like, this isn't a game where you're game planning and whatnot.
Right.
He wasn't perfect by any stretch, but I'm not sure you're ever going to have a quarterback in a spring practice do that. But I was very, very encouraged from him specifically. I think he's already built a pretty good rapport with Xavier Henderson. I didn't really notice Tony Johnson as much. I noticed more of Aaron Turner and
Tony Johnson's been out.
Has he been? Again, that's the thing with me not knowing the numbers. He might have been out there. He might not have. There was one point where I was like, I haven't really noticed Kai Stokes, and then all of a sudden I see him out there. I'm like, well, maybe he's been out there the whole time, and I've just been looking at something else,
right? And
not truly, knowing. I don't know who to look for and whatnot, but I'm still like, if Tony Johnson can be that guy, if Barry Jackson can. I still think if they had their way in the portal, they would try to add another receiver. I feel like there could be a spot there, a bigger outside guy.
So I know they feel great about Tony Johnson as the outside guy opposite Xavier Henderson. That's not to say that they wouldn't go looking.
Well, the problem is if anything happens to one of those two guys, you pretty much got a whole bunch of 5'9" dudes.
Well, you have Evan Prater.
Sterling Buckholder. Well, Evan's been. I mean, he's
but he'll be back in the mix.
Yeah. I would still be trying to find another true outside guy.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying but you got to also account for spring. Like you have a bunch of guys that have minor bumps and bruises that they don't play because
Corey's hardly participating.
Right.
Like they're not.
They don't want him to have any bumps and bruises.
Right. They're not running any risk with him over this.
But I'm talking about like once you're at the point where we've gone through, 11 practices. They have one more this week and then the 2 next week in the spring game. You've gone through 11 practices. Guys are going to turn an ankle, and guess what? In August, they'd be back the next day. But right now, they're going to sit out 2 weeks because it just doesn't make any sense for you to like do damage to an ankle.
Yeah.
To get reps in the spring. So like, I think it's really difficult from that standpoint of projecting like, okay, this is what it looks like without this guy. Well, that guy would be in there today if we were in August, but we're not. So like, I think you have to kind of like gauge judgment on that.
I also just,
I think Sterling Buckhalter has had a pretty good camp. And then you add Evan back in, and with Tony Johnson, you've at least got 4 guys outside with some, at least Johnson's a little bit smaller, but like the other 3 guys have really good size.
He's still fine to be like the opposite guy. I mean, he's not a 5'7", 170-pound slot guy.
Right. They have a couple of those that you're not going to be able to play them outside. They're going to be gadget guys. They're going to be guys in the slot that are making plays.
AT, Tyron Smith, the 2 freshmen.
I mean, you could probably play Barry Jackson outside if you had to.
Oh yeah,
I
think so. Yeah.
So no, I agree with what you're saying. I do think the numbers. There's probably not going to be a big number pool to choose from in terms of how many spots you have when you get into the spring portal.
It sounds like if they add, it's going to be pretty minimal.
Yeah, I mean, you brought in so many new dudes already, and you just run out of the 85 is the number now. You kind of run out of ways to run over that. But would I be surprised if they brought in a wide receiver? No, I think you're probably looking more at a corner. I think they'd really like one more corner to feel better about the depth and the health of that room. And then
always looking
for big guys,
offensive and defensive line. I mean, that's
right.
Regardless of how set you might be, and how set you think you might be. Like if you can add someone that can help, and I don't think they're necessarily looking for any 1-year guys either. I think we're looking
probably
at multi-year dudes. But I just thought of something too, and now I'm sad. I will not be at the spring game.
What?
I got Will's soccer schedule today, and they play at 12:30 every week, starting the 13th.
I mean, that sounds like a mom duty.
Oh yeah, first game of the year. Peace out, guys. Like, not happening. But
that's what moms are for.
Sure.
In good times.
I could pull that because she's been sick for a couple of weeks. I could be like, hey, remember when I took care of everything for 2 weeks? You can take care of this. But
I'll be in all the other games. I'm not going to miss another one.
Yeah.
But today's the spring game, and the people that do the schedule should have checked with me first.
That's right. Well, I just assumed that they were going to they played at 8:00 in the
like
morning last year.
like normal soccer games at 8
I'm
a.m.
like, I was thinking, 8, 9, 10 o'clock, I'd be fine. But Samaj Jones has a very live arm. He has one speed on that live arm, but it is a very it is noticeable the velocity that he can generate.
Yes.
He is very much still developmental quarterback that looks to run almost instantly, but there are certainly tools there to work with. Because of his arm, and I think just how he plays the game in 2024 college football. I liked what I saw, but even as an early enrollee freshman quarterback, you can tell like there is such a massive cavern between what Brandon Sorsby is capable of doing from a load standpoint and processing standpoint and all of that to a true freshman. But he certainly has talent.
Yeah.
I was pretty damn impressed, even though Corey doesn't really get much action, especially in like full team stuff. Like the running backs had I don't know if that's been the case more days than not, but I was pretty impressed with all the running backs on Friday, whether it was Evan Pryor, Chance Williams was super impressive, and then Manny Covey had some very nice plays as well. Like I think Chance Williams is going to be a dude that people are going to like because it's not even just his long speed. Like he is very shifty, and his stop, and then back into he had like a fit. I don't know how long. I don't know if it would have been a touchdown. I don't know what Keegan marked it off at. It's tough to tell with running in spring because they're not tackled, and they'll say you wouldn't tackle me, and the defense will say I got two hands on you, but like It wasn't like a wide zone play where he rode it out, cut it back, and it was like clear sailing. Like he made some dudes miss, and then he put his foot in the ground, stopped, and then accelerated, and then outran the pursuit after pretty much coming to a complete stop.
He's got very high end, like 0 to 60. If that, you know what I mean.
I think Manny Covey caught the ball out of the backfield. I will be very interested to see how much of that is brought into the game plan this year. I think that was an area that was incredibly lacking, but I don't think it was because Coach Satterfield didn't want to call those plays.
Right. I think you got a quarterback that struggled to execute them.
And I'm not sure we had, outside of Ryan Montgomery, we didn't really, they definitely have more of the pass catching running backs this year than they did last year. Like, did we throw the ball to Miles Montgomery more than one or two times in his entire UC career?
No, and I think it probably would have benefited them greatly to attempt that a little more.
Yeah, but I think this group, we could potentially see that more.
But you also need a quarterback that has some touch and ability to throw guys, like especially on those tight plays, to throw guys open into space.
Well, you throw them into the progression of the play, not to
that's
where
what I'm saying.
Not
throw
even
them into space.
Yeah, like not where they sit there and stop and have to reach back or down or,
Guess what? College linebackers are fast. Safeties and corners are fast. If a guy has to stop and like turn around and like find the ball, the play is dead. Dead. D-E-D, dead.
I liked the tight ends. I thought we have a little bit of everything with that group. Joey Belgian's a fun dude. He likes to give the defense some shit. Coach Veit, he caught a ball from Samaj on tight red zone. Just a quick sprint out, was wide open and like caught it at the 2 and strutted into the end zone and like flipped the ball up. and Vite is running from the other side of the field screaming like that's a penalty. Like Vite has some piss
Oh,
and vinegar in him, man. That you can
he
hear that
is
dude
fiery.
anywhere on the field.
I think Keegan said today, like, are we worried he might try to fight somebody this year? And I was like, yeah,
As long as it's on the other team, I'm fine with it.
it.
But no, I mean, I think
he's a pretty quiet, pleasant dude, but boy, he gets cranked up.
Yeah, Royers looked good. I thought Belgian looked good. Both of the freshmen made some plays. Grover had a touchdown in the red zone on about a 15-yard out route where Thorsby threaded one in there between the DB and the sideline. You know, I think
Grover's a monster of a human.
Oh yeah, he's huge.
Huge.
Trying to think what else.
Defense? Like, let's talk some defense, Dave.
Kamani Burns playing nose has flashed apparently multiple practices. He had a very nice beat his man and had a very nice TFL on a run play. The biggest thing I noticed defensively is the DBs are just way bigger and more athletic. I have no idea who's gonna start, who's gonna play, but like it's night and day compared to last year.
It's remarkable how fast that room just looks, especially safety, just looks unlike anything that we saw last year.
I mean, I don't know how they're gonna like decide who to play because it seems like Mekhi Miller, Kai Stokes, Josh Minkins, and Derek Canteen have all had pretty solid springs.
There's another one too.
Logan Wilson,
yeah.
I mean, he's one of the other additions. I feel like,
yeah, but I'm saying he has flashed quite a bit too this spring as well. Like,
and who I still really like is Jaden Davis.
Yeah, and DJ Taylor.
He was good at the practice. He made a couple PBUs or was right there on a couple plays. He definitely fits that mold, size wise and athleticism. So, if they can with this 3 safety look, and if they can feel good at corner, I think they'll be okay at safety.
Like Dave, I don't know. Try to say this the most clear way possible. I went into the spring like feeling like I had to watch safety religiously.
Right.
Like, we have got to figure out if these guys are good enough. And I am getting to the point now where I'm hardly watching safety play.
Right.
Because I just anticipate they're going to be where they're supposed to be and make plays. Like, I don't have to single them out anymore because I'm comfortable with the talent level that is there.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
And I can't believe I'm in a position where I'm saying I'm comfortable, even with the depth of a room that we thought could potentially just be a disaster. Even if they did a good job restocking that room, like there could not be enough talent there.
Yeah, I mean they clearly just like every time you and I would talk and be like, well, they're probably done at safety. It felt like they would add another guy.
Yeah.
And this was obviously before they even knew they were going to be looking for a new defensive coordinator. Right.
Thank goodness they realized we're probably going to need a bunch of them just in case to figure it out.
Well, I mean, it was what? Antoine Peak Jr., DJ Taylor, and Jaden Davis? That's pretty much. Am I missing anybody?
That was the room.
That's pretty much
the room.
So you don't even have a 2 deep without counting any freshmen.
Right. I do want to give some credit there, Dave. I have been really impressed with the freshman class. I mean, I know it's only half of them, just the dudes that came in early.
Right.
But I'm going to tell you something right now. Simeon Coleman, I don't know how they're going to manage to keep him off the field when we get to September.
Well, he's going to be playing a shit ton of special teams. I can bet you that.
I'm not talking about special teams.
I know, but
his short area quickness and his, the old football IQ term, and his ability to like stick his nose in a gap and just smack somebody is even more impressive than I already thought it was, knowing like who he was as a prospect. But I don't know what he did on Friday. He was outstanding today. And
I didn't really, not saying he didn't do anything. I just didn't necessarily see him do anything crazy. But he's obviously, I mean, you guys have talked about him several times. If you haven't had a chance to watch Coach Satterfield's little media scrum after practice today, I don't know if it was, I think it was you that asked him about him, and
I did.
He had nothing but good things to say. So, I mean, yeah, it's gonna be tough to keep him off the field, and I mean they've got some with was it Barrett with him playing linebacker now.
Yeah,
they've got several guys there, so it'll be interesting.
I mean, they've been doing like this pod thing where like, you're lumping guys together, like, your first team linebackers may be playing with your second team D line and your third team safeties and corners. But today, they had Barrett and they had Thompson at the other two linebacker spots, and Coleman was with them, which that's like the one group. Like Thompson and Barrett are going to start at linebacker, and Coleman was out there with them, like in that kind of weak side linebacker spot.
Has Dingle been out in the
spring? Little bit, yeah. He's been limited.
But yeah, I mean, you've got those three, Dorian Jones.
Well, maybe.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
But like Brian Sims, I think it's looked good at linebacker. They've got numbers at linebacker, and Coleman just keeps like leveling himself up the depth chart with every passing week.
Yeah.
So
Jalen Hunt had a nice day.
On
Friday, he made two straight plays, I think it was, where he busted through and got a TFL on a run play, and then on the very next play, or it was either the next play or the play before, he busted through and got a sack.
I don't know where he was. Was he playing 3-tech, like that outside?
From where I was standing, like I didn't see where he originally lined up. I kind of just saw the finish of the play.
Okay.
So I couldn't say one way or the other. Michael Coleman seems bigger to me than I was expecting.
Yes, he is.
I knew how big he was. Like, it wasn't like I thought he was 6'2", 220, and all of a sudden he's 6'4", 265. But he just looked taller and longer than I thought he was from watching highlights.
I think it's the length, man. Like, he is.
Well, the black uniforms are thinning, and the defense wears black, so maybe that's it.
He looks bigger for sure than I expected him to. Well, how many times have we seen those guys come in and they get here and their measurements say one thing, and you see them on the field and you go, that's not what.
Well, yeah, it's the opposite.
Right. That's not really what I was thinking. And then you see him and you go, well, the numbers did not do him justice at all. Like, again, about
they seem pretty
like
accurate.
what the rest of the league looks like. He looks like what the rest of the league looks like.
They seem pretty accurate because Tyron Smith, Dakari Anderson, and Cale Woodburn are as skinny as they're listed.
Yeah. Cale Woodburn, baby. That's I'm hitching to the Cale Woodburn wagon.
He really didn't do anything that I noticed on Friday. Tyron Smith had a big day on Friday.
He's splashy. Like,
he's good, man. You get him the ball, and he's gonna
In
make
space? Yeah.
something happen. I feel like with his, like, if you line him in the slot on the same side as X, he's gonna beat some poor safeties and nickels over the top on some deep posts and deep crossers. You know, assuming that we give Sorsby enough time. He's a game changer in the speed factor out of the slot that I don't think they've had. I mean, Shaq wasn't even that type of a dude. He was more of the underneath dude, catch the ball.
Shaq, great hands. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna run all these little option and drags and like all these different little routes underneath. And
he's not as big, but like he feels to me more of like the Curtis Samuel type slot guy where you can attack down the field with him.
Right.
Let's see. What does Jason asked? What is the realistic progress for the football team this year? 6 wins in bowling with the number of new players in key spots. It's hard to figure out what they really have on the roster.
If they get quarterback right, they're going to win six or more games.
If Sorsby plays 12 games and plays pretty well, I think they'll be fine. I will say from myself, like they better, because I don't think going from what they did last year to 5 wins will be seen as near enough. Now, I'm not saying that there will be consequences, so to speak, but like,
right.
If you like, because of the portal, the whole year 0 thing is a bygone of years past, and I wouldn't even like last year was nothing close to a year 0. I mean, they had plenty of talent, should have probably been better than they were, but like this team to me feels like they have enough pieces to get to 6 wins or more. It's how well does the quarterback play, and how much better is the secondary, and the pass rush working in conjunction. Like that was what I always said last year. Like if the quarterback play was a little bit better, and one of the two things were better, whether it was the DBs helping the pass rush or the pass rush helping the DBs, then I think they would have been fine. They just, outside of the Pitt game, like they just couldn't get to the quarterback.
Right.
And they couldn't cover anybody regardless of what the defensive line was doing. And once the front 7 couldn't get to the quarterback anymore, it was Katie bar the door. It didn't matter who we were playing. Them fuckers were throwing for 300 and doing whatever they wanted, which then allowed them to run and do whatever they wanted running the ball because you're so worried about giving up, easy scoring drives. But no, I do think that, like, again, I saw them one time and it's against themselves in spring. And if we're being honest, the only value, there's 2 values to spring, in my opinion. 3 values. 1, figuring out who your quarterback is. They know who that is. 2, acclimating freshmen to college football. And 3, no season-ending injuries. Outside of that, I really don't care what happens, and I don't really take much from it.
What I would add, and I think like you would as well, the second part being freshmen and transfers. Getting transfers up to speed. I just want to clarify.
Yeah.
Like essentially getting the new guys acclimated.
Well, at least getting a glimpse at them to say, like, okay, these guys might be able to play, or shit, like these. I'll just say
15 practices in your system to where, like, they might have been lost the first 6 practices, but the last 7 practices, like they were on top of their game.
That's the area where these, especially the freshmen, have such an advantage moving forward. Is like you get to like get all your bad shit out now when it doesn't matter, and you get to like just figure out what going to college is like. Like you get to develop a routine while practicing, but like the practices don't really matter. Like, no, like you're not game prep, like you're not getting ready. You're getting ready for the season, but not in the same way that you do at higher ground.
Well, you're not getting ready for a game or like
Right. So like all of that uncertainty and unfamiliarity of going to school now and what's the routine and when do I lift and when are my position meetings and all that stuff will just be second nature to them while the other guys are figuring that out. I will say it might have only been one day, but I feel pretty comfortable in saying that like this transfer haul is way better than last year's.
agree.
And
Like
I
they
think
just look different than what we saw last year. Last year was we have to scramble. These are guys that have started here before. They're probably going to start for us this year. Like, you don't really know what your depth looks like. You don't really know what your starters look like. You have to do almost all of that before spring ball.
well, they also added a good amount of dudes after spring practice, which we both don't think will be the case this year.
Well, yeah, and a lot of those guys were just like the kid from the safety from BYU.
Yeah, George.
That was
Udo.
just depth. That was strictly if the shit hits the fan, we have to have a couple guys that we hope can play.
Mhm.
And that was a guy that struggled to make an impact in a very thin, not so good, in fact, possibly terrible safety role.
Did he play any defensive snaps at all?
Not many.
I don't know if he did it.
Not many.
Yeah, I mean, I was encouraged. I try to, temper any expectations one way or the other. There's certainly nothing that I saw that overly concerned me that was like, oh shit, they better figure something out here in this next portal window, because if one guy gets hurt, they are
they need a corner. Like
Oh,
somebody asked me that today. If they were going to add one thing in the portal, what would it be? Starting level corner, I think is still.
But I think if absolutely push came to shove, like Canteen can play corner.
Sure, but it would behoove them to go find a pretty quality corner.
Yes.
In the portal, and then if you can find some big guys, go get some big guys. You probably won't, but if you can, go do that. I don't know. There's a new breaking away. Do you have anything else on the Bearcats?
I don't think so. I think we covered one practice quite well.
The Athletic came out this evening. Andrew Marchand and Stuart Mandel. I didn't know they hired Andrew Marchand. It's a pretty good hire.
They did.
There is a new group called College Sports Tomorrow. It looks like the primary backing in like the president circle, chancellor circle, is coming from the chancellor at Syracuse and our old buddy Gordon Gee, the president at West Virginia.
I almost instantly want to dismiss it when his name is associated with it.
I know. This group includes those two guys. It's a 20-person group. It's got the NFL's number 2 executive, Brian Rolap, the owner of the 76ers, a search firm, Tony Petitti from the Big Ten. They are trying to basically create the Super League, which I don't know if you looked into this or not.
I haven't had a chance.
So 7 divisions, all separate from whatever conferences are possible now. There are 10 teams in each division. Those would come from all of the current Power 5 schools, plus Notre Dame, plus SMU going into.
Correct one thing. It's
Okay.
supposedly it's 80 schools.
I'm getting to that.
Oh, okay.
70 protected schools
Oh, okay.
that consist of the Power 5, SMU, because they're going to the ACC, and Notre Dame. And then there is an 8th division of 10 that are group of 5.
Okay.
And then there will be relegation, but only in that 8th group. The 70 teams that are in the first 10 pods or whatever.
So like one of the teams in the 8th group can't win a shit ton of games and move up to and take Vanderbilt's spot?
No.
Well, then what's the point? You're just allowing the plebes to just beat up on each other and take each other's spot?
There will be promotion and relegation in that 8th division. That's it.
This is already stupid.
That's it. That's it.
Come on.
So they're basically taking the top 10 G5 teams and saying, we believe that you're going to be cyclical and you're going to cycle in and out of this 8th spot, but the 7 top spots are
I love that. Like, Rutgers and whoever, can be terrible every year and never lose their spot to App State or Liberty or whoever in this
James
other,
Madison, whatever.
in this
on and
other
on and on.
whatever.
They basically would treat it like the NFL.
Yeah, they own the league. I mean, I was
Yes.
reading a few tweets here now. Like
There would be a collective bargaining agreement inside the league. That would be part of joining the league, I guess, would be agreeing to a players union for the teams that are in that league, whatever. And it would separate college football from the rest of college sports.
Okay. Who governs all this?
I guess these 20 people that are I guess they are that's the thing. You think Greg Sankey's going to be like, no, okay, this sounds good. I'm just going to run everything but football in the SEC.
So the people that are putting up all the money, they're going to be the ones in charge?
Hypothetically, yes.
So if I won the lotto and I won $1 billion and I put a bunch of money in this thing, or I'm a multi-billionaire and I put a bunch of money in this thing, I'm like, my money is contingent on UC being able to do whatever the hell they want.
Right.
Like,
I don't see any way that this iteration of whatever this idea is works. Apparently, they've tried to get in contact and set up meetings with a bunch of people in the industry, and those people have either just straight declined or agreed to set up the meeting and then just canceled at the last minute because, the people in the Big 10 and the Big 12 and the Big East don't want to piss off Fox, and the people in the SEC and the ACC don't want to piss off the ESPN partners.
Well, it sounds like, I mean, I could be wrong. I thought I saw this earlier. It sounds like the SEC, the Big 10, and the Big 12 aren't exactly the ones that are wanting to do that.
Right. I don't think any of them necessarily want to do it because then you have to walk away from.
The ACC's like, yeah, we'll do it. Whatever it takes to keep Florida State and Clemson. We'll literally do anything.
I mean, Florida State, they might go private equity. They might go to the Saudis and say, hey, we're going to need $200 million a year for this amount of time.
Live Florida State football, but louder.
Right. So that way, what could they do? They could just say, okay, we went out of the grant of rights, but we've got this private equity firm that is now funding our athletic department.
Yeah. Private equity firms don't do stuff for free.
Well, no, they'll get something out of it, Dave.
I just wouldn't want to be in debt with the Bonesaw Invitational.
I know. So
but, I mean, this, sure, whatever. I don't know if it's the same people. It's probably not, but we haven't even played a 12-team playoff yet, and they're already figuring out how to do a 16-team playoff. And I'm just like I know that I'm supposed to because of this and how it would affect UC. Like I am supposed to give more cares. It's very hard for me to because it just feels so scattershot and like, well, we got to do something, or else doomsday is coming.
Right.
So what are we gonna do? Oh, what about this? Oh, well, okay, we'll try that first, and then that. Well, nope, I don't know about that. So let's try. Like it seems so. I don't know, man. I'm trying to not be super pessimistic about it, and while at the same time trying to look at it
At least somewhat objectively, as if it's like a possibility.
yeah,
I
so
don't
it's
know
like
that it is.
sold as one TV property, so kind of like the NFL, you get like
Yes, that's the whole.
certain
We think
divisions
we.
are on certain networks, like the AFC
Yeah.
and the NFC, even though that's kind of now going away. Like they have much more crossover than they used to have.
Right. These three divisions are on Fox. These three divisions are on ESPN family of networks.
Yeah.
And then we have like the bastard stepchild middle division that, we just scatter about, wherever we can fit them in.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems pretty far-fetched, especially when you consider it would require all of the conferences to essentially give up football. And I don't think any of the conferences want to do that.
Well, here's the other thing. Like, if you go in all this together and you collectively bargain with your employees, then that also would mean that everybody is equal.
Unless there's, Jason said there's talk of revenue shares among the 70 would not be distributed evenly. Good luck with that.
Then how are you one league but not distribute evenly?
It doesn't
you
make
collectively bargain. That means like you're a collective.
Right.
The NFL cuts up the pot at the end of the year and writes checks that are the same amount to all 32 teams. Like, I just like if it's not like if revenues aren't distributed evenly, then I'm failing to see the point in this.
Right.
It doesn't feel any different than what they're doing now, other than just they'd be one league instead of 7 different leagues, but the intricacies of it would feel the same.
Right.
It's like you're doing the same thing, but just calling it something else.
Exactly.
But it's different. Oh, okay.
You're putting the emphasis on different syllables.
Yeah, I don't know. And again, I have not read. I know Stuart Mandel wrote an article with Andrew. I have not read the article, so I don't want to say something. I'm reluctant to speak on it too definitively because I could just be totally saying something that they said in the article, and I'd be saying the opposite. But
yeah,
and Jace, the point is that they can get out of all these lawsuits, all these back end lawsuits that are going to be coming their way,
right,
from the players that they could have gotten out of a long time ago if they just realized or admitted that it's not amateur athletics anymore.
Guess what? All the players that didn't get any money before NIL started would like their money, sir.
Reparations.
No, there's lawsuits in process and more coming from players that were like, hey, y'all said that we weren't allowed to make money off our name, image, and likeness, and now it's okay, and we would like back pay on all the money that you.
I mean, which I'm fine with, because like if I'm the schools, which is part of the whole thing that Tennessee, when a couple months ago or whenever that was, that they were fighting in courts and everything, was because the NCAA was trying to penalize them for recruiting violations that weren't in place. Like they were trying to retroactively
Right.
penalize them for. And
We
they're
have
like,
put these rules in place, and you are now in trouble for breaking the new rules
that
before they were in
that
place.
weren't in place before. It's like, no, that's
Right.
not how rules work. Like,
I don't think you understand what the word rule means.
like law. This wasn't a law when you did this, but now it is. So now you're going to jail because you broke the law that wasn't actually a law when you broke the law.
You were driving on a 55-mile-an-hour highway, and the camera got your speed at 64, right?
Yeah.
And then 2 months later, they lower the speed limit to 45.
Now you were recklessly driving.
Now we're 19 miles over the speed limit, and you're in big fucking trouble, sir.
Yeah, like I don't think that flies in the court of law. It certainly didn't. Yeah, Tennessee won that one pretty easily. But
Jason, this one raised my eyebrow too. I'm interested in Dave's thoughts on this. There's a guy who's the number 2 guy in the NFL involved in this thing and has refused to comment. Seems strange for the NFL to be involved in the restructuring of college football. That is fishy.
Wait, the number so like I'm trying to think who the number 2 guy is in the NFL.
I'll tell you in just a second.
But like, do they give his name and he just won't?
Brian Rolap.
Okay.
He's the number 2, the NFL's number 2 executive. Brian Rolap, ROLAPP.
I mean, why doesn't the NFL just buy college football?
How do you do that? It's not an independent entity.
Well, they're trying to make it one.
Buy. I
why
know,
can't
but
why can't the NFL be the one that makes it this way? They certainly have the cash. They have the infrastructure. They have the people that could be the commissioners or board of directors or enforcement or whatever. I mean,
I don't know. Well, maybe they are. Maybe they're trying to do it with their number 2 guy, but do it like sneaky.
Yeah. I don't think the NFL does anything sneaky. So
right.
that would be pretty hard to do. I think
that's how colleges work. Colleges try to do everything sneaky.
That would throw off alarm bells. Hey, the guy that if Roger Goodell was like in a coma would be the commissioner of the NFL is like in charge of this. No one would notice that.
Right. I think they buried the lead a little bit that guy is heavily involved.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't really believe or not trust because there's no reason to not be trustworthy. But like, I don't know. I just don't pay a lot of attention to this stuff because it just seems so haphazard. And I've said it a million times.
Everything they do is haphazard.
That's what I mean. That's why I don't pay much attention because like I've beaten this drum and horse to a bloody pulp, but I always fall back on these are the same people that had 5 power conferences and did a 14 playoff.
Right.
So they couldn't even figure that out, but they're gonna do this thing. Now maybe it's other people who are going to do this who are not
right
in college athletics and
Gordon Gee.
Oh, exactly. Like the guy that once said, "I hope Jim Tressel doesn't fire me." He's involved in this. Okay.
Anybody that wears a bow tie because they wake up in the morning and choose to go out in public with a bow tie on, that guy can't be trusted. Just can't.
No.
All right. You got anything else?
I don't think so. Might be some football visitors Friday.
Should be a pretty big day Friday from my understanding.
Sounds like could be the case. It was posted on the board by, is her name Anna Adams?
Yeah.
A new 24/7 college football recruiting reporter. Pretty highly recruited defensive back from Georgia. Sounds like has set up an official visit for the end of May. Borderline 4-star, like with the very, very
89.
high
Right.
end. Right. Yeah. But with the blue blood offers to match, I'm not sure.
Right.
Probably need to do some digging on that because it sounds like UC might be in a pretty darn good spot. I don't want to get over my skis on that, but I don't know. I don't know if there's a staff connection there, if there's a what the deal is, but that's on the board if you haven't seen that yet. So we'll see. With the spring game coming up, I know they'll obviously have guys. We'll maybe touch on that more next week. What we're looking to see in the spring game, recruiting, anything on those.
What I'm looking to see in the spring game. Apparently, you're not going to fucking be there.
Apparently, I'm not. Just realized that tonight.
All right, that's going to wrap it up. We will see you next week. Who knows what's going to happen between now and then? It's the BCJ Podcast.
7 more guys are going to transfer.
Presented by the Holy Grail, right here on BearcatJournal.com.